Dio stared at the stars as he laid on the green grass floor. The night was clear, not a cloud in the sky allowing him to see what seemed to be infinite stars. The two moons in the sky serving as the brightest objects, casting a twilight haze of light across the land. It was of course much dimmer from inside the observation green, with 30-foot reinforced transparent rock separating Dio from the surface of New Eden. Even though he was born on this planet, this observation chamber was the closest he could get to the surface. His stargazing was interrupted by the chamber doors releasing pressure. Shit, Dio thought, it's way past curfew. With no time to think, Dio rolled to his feet and ran in the opposite direction of the door that was seconds from opening. He was laying on the tallest piece of the observation room, which was pretty much dead center of the chamber, about 300 feet to either door. In his rush he tripped over a bush of roses, causing him to fall face first. Just as he was getting up to make the dash to escape the room, he heard loud laughter erupting from the chamber door. This made him freeze, opting to take the high ground and see just who was this confident this late after curfew. As he peered over the edge of the hill, he saw 3 men enter the chamber, with the middle one laughing loudly. "Ah yes, this little garden," the middle one said after catching his breath. The dim light of the moons was not allowing Dio's eyes to identify the men. The man to the right of the middle one started speaking and getting animated, motioning to the observation chamber. Even in the silence of the chamber, Dio couldn't quite make out what he was saying. The other man in the group started pitching in, raising his voice to interject with, "And that's vital for us considering the shortages." "Shortages? What shortages? We live in New Eden," Dio thought. Yes, said the man in the middle, who sounded oddly familiar. "We will discuss this in the morning." A gigantic belch cut him off mid-sentence, causing him to giggle. It was quite evident that this man was drunk, however it seemed like these 2 men were answering to him. "As I was saying," the man slurred, "we will discuss in the morning. I believe a good night's rest will do this negotiation swimmingly." The man on the right seemed to be getting frustrated as he waved something in his hand, speaking too low for Dio to pick up. All right, the man in the middle said, slightly exasperated, grabbing the object out of the other man's hands. "We begin terraforming in 2 weeks' time, now let me rest. Such a great night ruined with business." With this they walked to the chamber door and entered the pressurized doors. The dim light inside the doors allowed Dio to see the back profiles as they left, with the man in the middle donning a disheveled white dress shirt with a gold and blue armband. The men flanking either side of him were dressed in all black, also formal, but everything put together. Wait, blue and gold. That couldn't have been. If not him, then who else? Dio was shocked beyond belief, not sure if he saw President Pexus or if his eyes were playing tricks on him. Either way, he needed to get back to his chamber blocks before someone else caught him out past curfew. Waiting a few minutes to create space between him and the 3 men who just left, he began to think about the bits of conversations he could hear. If that was the president out past curfew with what seemed to be 2 advisors, the conversation must have been important. But if it was important, why was the president clearly drunk? And what about this place has anything to do with shortages? And shortages of what? This is Eden, we have too much of everything. Nothing is adding up. And with that thought racing through his mind, Dio made the stealthy escape back to his chamber blocks, marked with a large letter B, winding his way through the hallways and downstairs to the 4th level, as the elevators made too much noise for him to use this late. As he walked down the hall and made a right to find his door, he noticed the usually dim hallway lights were even dimmer. Reaching his door, he grabbed his signal jammer out his back pocket and opened his door. He quietly entered and closed the door behind him, shutting off his signal jammer. Kicking his shoes off, he smiled to himself about the jammer his friend invented, which charged itself with steps and was able of overriding the door alert. Doors are able to be used at any time, but after 9 p.m. curfew they send alerts to New Eden police. Dio's parents weren't too fond of getting woken up past midnight to the police dropping Dio off for breaking curfew. This was precisely the reason he traded his desserts for a month for the signal jammer from Leon. Leon was from Chamber E, which houses most of the electrical machines that ran power to New Eden. Even so, Dio was still skeptical of Leon's ability, being that they both were constantly getting in trouble as kids. However, after watching him break into the principal's office after hours to get their games back, he was sold. Even though altering anything in the public chambers is strictly prohibited, it was accepted risk, and honestly, the way New Eden's justice system works, it was worth the risk rather than breaking curfew constantly. He quietly creeped into his bedroom and took a look at the clock in the wall next to his bed, which read 2:22 a.m. Shit, I have to go to school tomorrow, he thought to himself. Pushing his racing mind aside, Dio got into his bed and soon found himself in dreamland. Dio was standing barefoot in the grass staring at just one moon in the sky. He could feel the breeze gently run across his face and through his hair, changing in intensity. This was nothing like the air conditioning that blew through the halls of New Eden. A small furry animal with floppy ears that Dio had never seen hopped over his feet and scurried under nearby bushes. Everything was green, tinted almost purple from the glow of the moon. A massive tree stood alone on a hill, a few hundred feet from where he was standing. It seemed impossibly large, reaching upwards as if it was holding the weight of the sky. Before he realized, Dio had teleported next to the tree and placed his hand on the rough, rugged bark. A flood of visions overtook him, from beautiful beaches and massive waves that wash away the world to mountains of fire spilling over the land. He was awestruck and also rudely awakened by the alarm blaring. Fuck, maybe I should start sleeping during curfew. With that thought, he sat upright on his bed suddenly, remembering the close call he had the night before. With renewed vigor he sprang into action, quickly donning his clothes and walking into the living room. No one was home as both his parents were already gone, both working for the New Eden News. Dio went to the kitchen area and opened his fridge, grabbing the mixed fruit juice that seemed warmer than usual. Dio thought nothing of it, chalking it up to his dad leaving it open too long. He double-checked his pockets for his signal jammer and his ID scanner and ran out the door. Dio rushed through the halls of New Eden. His thoughts were still swirling with the bizarre encounter he had witnessed in the observation chamber last night. As he navigated the winding passageways, he couldn't shake the image of President Pexus, or at least someone who looked remarkably like him, engaging in a drunken conversation about terraforming and shortages. The city of New Eden bustled with activity, even at this early hour. People in their perfectly pressed uniforms and holographic wristbands moved briskly, heading to various destinations within the city's enclosed environment. Dio was no exception. He knew he had to make it to school on time, but the strange events of the previous night had left him with more questions than answers. His journey to school felt routine, but the unease in the back of his mind persisted. The sterile, controlled environment of New Eden was starting to feel confining. He wondered if there was more to the world beyond the city's walls, like the beautiful scenes he had experienced in his dream. His dream was something else that was bothering him. Why did the place of his dreams feel more like home than New Eden ever has? Upon arriving at school, Dio blended in with his fellow students, all of them preparing for another day of structured education and monitored routines. His friends greeted him with enthusiasm, and he joined them, putting on a facade of normalcy while still pondering the bizarre events of the previous night. The only one who could always tell was Leon, but instead of making a scene he invites Dio over after school. As the day unfolds, Dio's curiosity gnaws at him. He couldn't help but feel that there was something hidden beneath the surface of the seemingly perfect society of New Eden. His classes were monotonous, his teachers reciting information that seemed irrelevant to the world they lived in. Dio's mind kept drifting to the events of last night, and the whispers of shortages. The final bell rang, signaling the end of the school day, and Dio made his way back home. Once again, the empty apartment greeted him, as his parents were still at work. He grabs his signal jammer just in case and heads over to Leon's place. Leon's workshop was a hidden treasure trove of gadgets, wires, and electronic components. Dio found Leon hunched over a workbench, his goggles perched on his forehead as he tinkered with a circuit board. "Leon, you won't believe what happened last night," Dio began, recounting the strange encounter in the observation chamber. He also shared his dreams of the world beyond New Eden, the lush landscapes, and the massive tree. Leon listened intently, occasionally nodding as he processed the information. He was the type of guy who needed to be doing something with his hands to listen properly. After Dio finished, Leon's green eyes met his with a seriousness that sent a chill down Dio's spine. "I've heard rumors, Dio. Whispers of shortages, of resources being stretched thin, and a secret project to make New Eden better," Leon revealed. Dio's eyes widened, and the pieces began to click into place. "So, that's what the president and his advisors were discussing," he said, connecting the dots between the peculiar conversation in the observation chamber and the rumors Leon was sharing. As they delved deeper into the information, Dio and Leon knew they were playing with fire. Their curiosity had the potential to unravel the carefully crafted facade of their society. But they couldn't ignore the questions that now burned in their minds, not when the world outside New Eden's walls seemed so alluring and mysterious. Dio leaned in closer to Leon, his eyes glinting with determination. Leon, you think we can hack into the government files of New Eden? I mean, there's got to be something in there about what they're hiding. Leon scratched his head thoughtfully, his goggles perched on his forehead. Well, Dio, it's not impossible, but we need a solid plan. We're talking about some serious security measures. We can't just dive in head first. Frustration gnawed at Dio as he struggled to come up with a plan. What about a listening device? He starts before Leon cuts him off. On my dad while he works, no way, plus he does maintenance of power, not digital networks. Well damn, let me think of more plans. Dio said, tired of hitting figurative brick walls. On his way home, Dio's mind raced with possibilities, but nothing seemed foolproof. Lost in thought, he accidentally bumps into someone walking past him, and after apologizing, Dio looks up to see the New Eden Archives, a digital database for New Eden students and scholars. Shit, Dio thought to himself, maybe I should actually study for once. Dio checks out one of the many tablets and goes to New Eden's history. He reads that Earth was home to all humans at one point, however it was a dilapidated and chaotic world beyond repair. This is why colonies were sent out, to ensure the survival of humanity. The largest of the colonies being on the spaceship, Eden, which was home for the original voyagers before they finally reached New Eden. Once here, the spaceship Eden was adapted to be the city center of New Eden since the surface of New Eden needed to be terraformed. As time went on, New Eden expanded its borders and began the process of making a new home world for humanity. Just then a calm and soothing voice interrupts Dio. Excuse me, we're closing in just a bit, sorry, I'll be on my way. Dio responds, looking around to see that it's just him and the librarian left in the archives. I must have lost track of time. That's quite alright, I see you were reading New Eden history, got a test coming up? The librarian asks with a soft smile as she slots his digital tablet back on the shelf. No, actually. Dio laughs as he has no idea when any of his exams ever are. I'm just curious. As Dio tells the librarian this, her eyes lock with his with a ferocious intensity that he wasn't expecting at all. As soon as it came, it went, and Dio started to analyze the librarian, who wasn't much older than him, maybe a few years past graduation. Her striking gray eyes that were smoldering before now looked like a shining shield, and her mousy brown hair was pulled back into a ponytail. Before Dio can ask her what the look was for, she whispers so quietly that Dio barely hears her, "Do you want the truth?" Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story of New Eden. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed and comment if I should continue this story. Until next time, take care.